know that Princess Kate is a mean girl is that she did not even want to meet Meghan for months after Harry said that he was dating somebody and wanted his family to meet her because he was serious about her. A normal sister-in-law would take that with the intention and seriousness that it was and want to, I don't know, meet her future sister-in-law. But Kate had already decided that Meghan was whatever she wanted her to be in her mind, not good enough, or too much of an actress, or possibly too beautiful, or too much of a hard worker. And Kate was already gearing up to not like her. And in Harry's book, Spare, we hear about more details, and it did take him a long time to get them to meet. And then there were just some coldness opportunities from Kate toward Meghan. And Meghan was trying really hard because she wanted to make it work. And that's...
Hello, squaddies, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the channel. Today, let me ask you a very simple question. Why do Kate and her fans seem to lose their minds every single time Meghan Sussex makes a move? Because at this point, it's not even subtle anymore. It's predictable. Meghan announces something, or even just trends online, and suddenly the outrage machine switches on. Headlines start flying, social media gets heated, and the same talking points get recycled over and over again. So let's really talk about it. What is actually going on here? Because if we're being honest, this isn't about one Netflix deal or one appearance or one headline. This is about something much bigger. It's about disruption. Every time Meghan Markle makes a move, she disrupts a system that was never designed for her to thrive independently. And that's where the tension begins. Now, look at the reaction around the Netflix situation. The narrative being pushed is that this is something controversial, something questionable, something to be picked apart. But step back for a second. Why is success treated like a problem when it comes to Meghan? If this were anyone else, it would simply be called growth, expansion, strategy. But when it's Meghan, it becomes scrutiny. And that double standard didn't just appear overnight. A lot of it traces back to what Spare revealed. When Prince Harry released that book, he didn't expose everything, but he exposed enough. Enough to make people uncomfortable. Enough to show that behind the polished image of the royal institution there were inconsistencies, favoritism, and very real tensions. And one of the most talked about elements was the contrast in treatment within the family. People started asking questions, serious ones, about how situations were handled depending on who you were. Especially when the conversation turned toward Prince Andrew and his connection to the Jeffrey Epstein scandal. That comparison alone shifted public perception. Because suddenly it wasn't just gossip anymore. It was about accountability. And once people start questioning the system reacts. So when Harry spoke, it wasn't just a personal story. It was a disruption of control. And institutions built on carefully managed narratives don't respond well to that. Now bring Meghan back into the picture. From the very beginning, Meghan Markle didn't fit the expected mould. She was confident, articulate, globally aware, and comfortable in her own voice. You could see it in interviews, in speeches, in the way she carried herself. And let's be real, that level of presence stood out immediately. Not because it was wrong, but because it was different. And in a system where tradition and hierarchy define everything, different can quickly become threatening. Even Prince Harry himself has openly said he feels like he's out of his league with her, and he says it with pride. That alone tells you everything about their dynamic. This isn't a story of someone shrinking to fit expectations. This is a story of two people choosing to build something on their own terms. And that's exactly what challenges the status quo. Now let's talk about the media, because this is where the pattern becomes crystal clear. There was a time when the press loved Harry. He was the fun prince, the wild card, the easy headline. Party stories, unpredictable behaviour, it all fed into a narrative that sold well. But the moment he changed, when he found stability, when he stepped into a more grounded role, that narrative stopped working. So instead of evolving the story, they redirected it, and the focus shifted to Meghan. Same energy, same scrutiny, same cycle, different target. And for a while, it worked. The headlines generated clicks. The outrage drove engagement. The negativity became profitable. But here's the shift we're seeing now, and it's important. People are waking up. Audiences are starting to question what they're reading. They're noticing the repetition, the exaggeration, the lack of real substance behind many of these stories. And most importantly, they're getting tired of it. That's why the reaction to Meghan's moves feels louder now, but less effective. Because while the noise is still there, the influence of that noise is starting to fade. And every time the Sussexes speak out, every time they correct the record, it chips away at that old system. It breaks the illusion. It interrupts the narrative that tabloids have relied on for years: projection, speculation, unnamed sources. And that's a serious problem for an industry built on exactly that. Because once the audience stops believing the story loses its power. So when you see this constant backlash, this repeated outrage, this almost obsessive reaction to everything Meghan does, you have to ask yourself, is this really about Meghan? Or is it about control? Control over narrative, control over image, control over who gets to succeed and how. Because what Meghan represents isn't just a person, it's a shift toward independence, a shift toward owning your story, a shift away from systems that expect silence and compliance. And that kind of shift doesn't come quietly. It challenges people. It exposes things. It forces conversations that some would rather avoid. So no, this isn't just about a Netflix deal. It's not just about headlines or fan reactions. It's about a bigger picture that's still unfolding in real time. And the more Meghan continues to move forward, the more that tension is going to show. So I'll ask you again, squaddies, why do they really lose their minds every time she makes a move? And more importantly, what does that reaction reveal? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this conversation is far from over. Why the media's obsession with Meghan Markle reveals a deeper problem. The relentless media circus surrounding Meghan isn't just about one woman. It's a symptom of a broken system that profits from tearing people down. Think about it. Outlets like the Daily Mail, GB News, and so-called royal experts like Tom Bower and Angela Levin lose their minds every time the Sussexes make a move, whether it's the Netflix deal or, any other business venture. Why? Because their entire business model depends on manufactured outrage and unnamed sources spinning fantasies that keep the clicks coming. Every time Harry and Meghan correct the record, they break the spell, they interrupt the projection and innuendo that tabloids thrive on. That's catastrophic for an industry built on lies, and it's exactly why they're so threatened. The media loved Harry when he fit their chaotic bachelor narrative, but the moment he settled down and found stability, they just redirected that toxic energy onto Meghan. The target changed, the pattern didn't. What we're witnessing isn't journalism. It's a coordinated campaign to protect a certain narrative, one where an intelligent, accomplished woman who happened to marry into the royal family can't possibly be allowed to succeed without being torn apart first. And the fact that people are finally waking up to this garbage, that's what really has them panicking. The Daily Mail, the Variety, GB News, and the so-called journalists like Tom Bower and Angela Levin were so irritated that they came out to react to the Sussexes' Netflix deal like their entire livelihood depended on it. And honestly, it probably does. The visible irritation, the immediate think pieces, the scrambling to spin this as somehow negative, it all screamed desperation. These outlets and their mouthpieces have built entire careers on controlling the Sussex narrative, on being the gatekeepers of what the public knows about Harry and Meghan. But here's the thing. When the Sussexes make deals directly with platforms like Netflix, they're bypassing the tabloid machine entirely. They're telling their own story, on their own terms, without the filter of unnamed sources and royal correspondents who've never met them. That's catastrophic for an industry built on projection, innuendo and speculation. The intense, almost panicked reaction from these journalists wasn't about journalistic integrity or public interest, it was about fear. Fear of losing control, fear of becoming irrelevant. Fear that people might actually hear the truth directly instead of through their distorted lens. Let's be real and very honest. Meghan Sussex came in highly intelligent. Her level of intelligence showed in that forum which blew them away. Harry proudly admits he's out of his league with her. But nah, they couldn't have her showing them up. By them, I mean William and Kate. See, that's the thing the royal insiders don't want you to know. Meghan's articulate communication and her ability to hold her own in any room made them uncomfortable. She wasn't just some American actress playing dress-up. She was educated, well-spoken, and could command attention without even trying. And that was the problem. Because when someone comes in with that level of capability, it exposes the cracks in the carefully crafted image of those who were supposedly born to lead. William and Kate allegedly felt the heat because Meghan had this natural ability to outshine them, and not because she was trying to, just because she is that intelligent. They couldn't control her narrative the way they controlled everything else. And that's what really threatened them. The tabloid industry is really under pressure these days. The Sussexes' consistent fact-checking disrupts the media's fantasy narratives in ways that are nothing short of catastrophic for an industry built on projection, innuendo, and unnamed sources. Every time Harry and Meghan correct the record, they break the spell. They interrupt the carefully constructed fantasy that keeps the clicks coming. And here's the thing, clickbait and hateful content no longer generate the same engagement as before. The Daily Mail, the Variety, GB News, and the so-called journalists like Tom Bower and Angela Levin were so irritated, so visibly shaken, because they're watching their business model crumble in real time. Public awareness of misinformation has reduced the profitability of negative coverage, and honestly, people have woken up to the lies and unfounded hate. The hateful garbage that used to guarantee clicks, it doesn't generate the same revenue anymore. Could this be divine intervention? Or are these outlets finally realizing that the Sussex hate train is no longer as lucrative as it once was? Either way, Harry and Meghan are making life difficult for the tabloids, and it's about time. Facts. Kate is a mean girl. Let's be real and very honest about this. Kate's treatment of Meghan reflects deeper insecurity and jealousy. Meghan came in highly intelligent, and her level of intelligence showed in ways that blew them away. By them, I mean William and Kate. They couldn't have her showing them up, so what did they do? They froze her out. Harry's memoir Spare is why they're angry at him, because he told some of what his family did to them. There's no doubt Harry had way more to tell. One insight is what he wrote about how his family was treating Andrew versus them. The Epstein situation proved it. The royal family's selective protection of problematic members like Prince Andrew while throwing Harry and Meghan to the wolves tells you everything you need to know about their priorities. They'll protect a man embroiled in scandal, but won't protect a woman being racially harassed by the media. Spare exposed family dynamics the institution wanted hidden, and now they're scrambling because the spell is broken. Every time the Sussexes correct the record, they interrupt the fantasy, and that's catastrophic for an industry built on projection, innuendo, and unnamed sources. The media absolutely adored Harry when he played into their perfect chaotic bachelor narrative. The party prince, the Vegas scandal, the rebellious royal who gave them endless easy headlines without ever challenging the system. But the moment he settled down, the moment he found stability and stepped outside their carefully constructed box, they needed a new villain, and they found one in Meghan Markle. That same vicious energy, those same manufactured controversies, that same relentless negativity, it all got redirected onto her with laser precision. The target changed, sure, but the pattern stayed exactly the same. They couldn't make money off a happy, stable Harry, so they weaponized his wife instead, proving once again that the tabloid machine doesn't care about truth or fairness. It cares about clicks, chaos, and keeping the fantasy alive. Wow! Can't make up my mind as to whether this is divine intervention or he's realizing that hate towards the Sussexes is not as lucrative as it was because people have woken up to the lies, and unfounded hate and clicks to read such hateful garbage does no longer generate clicks. There's a growing public skepticism toward those tabloid narratives that suggests a genuine awakening. People are actually now, instead of just consuming whatever garbage the Daily Mail throws at them. The decreased clicks on hateful content? That's not just a fluke, that's shifting cultural values in real time, and the so-called journalists like Tom Bauer and Angela Levin are feeling it in their pockets. Here's the thing, the Sussexes' transparency, their willingness to correct the record, to speak their truth, to do things like that Netflix deal on their own terms, directly challenges the media's entire business model, which has always been built on projection, innuendo, and unnamed sources. Every time Harry and Meghan break the spell and interrupt the fantasy, they're essentially pulling back the curtain on an industry that us to stay asleep, to keep clicking, to keep hating. And now? People are waking up.